Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 2 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 22, also known as Monastery. And this is by far the absolute longest chapter in the entire game. You can see this video is around 38-39 minutes, and it consists of a bunch of firefights. As these games have a tendency to do. Well, that's what you kind of expect when you're playing a cover shooter game. But it has, as I said, a bunch of big firefights. Some of them are really fun. One of them is really terrible. I absolutely hate it. But I'm gonna talk about that when we get there. And now we're gonna focus on this first part. This first part can be stealthed entirely. When you pull that first guy off the ledge, whether this guy sees it or not is completely random. I have pulled him down right in front of his face and he hasn't noticed a thing sometimes when I do it. So it's completely random. Feel free to restart the checkpoint if he notices you, because this first part, as you can see, can be stealthed if you get, depending on if you get that first as a stealth kill or not. It didn't work 100% for me. You saw he got off one shot, but it didn't alert the other guards, so I was still in the clear, so to say, and continue to kill the rest of his friends. And there you saw a little transition. I got trolled on this. This fight can be quite hard, and I actually have a little bonus video of this fight that I will upload very soon. Because I came across a glitch in this fight where the game suddenly moved me from one place to another. It was very strange. I'm very happy that it happened when I was recording this fight, because it gave me a chance. It gave me that little bonus video. I cut it out of the video. I had to restart the chapter because I didn't want it in. I didn't want it in the walkthrough because it's something you can't copy. Because I have no idea how it happened. I have played through this game several times. It has never happened to me before, and I would be very surprised if it were to happen again. But it happened at one time, and I will post a video showing it. Also, you saw there over on the left there are some planks sticking out of the wall. If you climb over there, you can get a crossbow with, I think it's 3 crossbow bolts. And you know the crossbow, it is a one-hit kill. So if you're struggling with this fight, it is also a good power position. You can hopefully lure the enemies out and just take 3 of them down with the crossbow and be in a good position of power to take out the rest, where they will have massive problems firing at you, because you can use the good old cover trick. And now I think we just have these 2 guys left, so I'm gonna push up. Or I'm not gonna push up. Nope. I'm gonna stay behind cover, because what makes this fight so hard is the fact that there is no checkpoint here in the first part. The checkpoint doesn't come until you move up and you start pushing a cart across the bridge. I think. I'm not 100% sure, because there is a checkpoint when you get to this fight. But then you're gonna have to complete the entire fight and move up to the cart without dying. So I was being a bit cautious. Don't want to be too aggressive, because as you could see, there was quite a lot of enemies. And you don't want to shoot down 39 enemies and get killed by the 40th. That is extremely frustrating when that happens, and it has happened to me on some fights. On one fight coming up, it happened to me. It is a very long fight, and there are more enemies than you would think there are. And it's a bit tricky, a bit wonky, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Let's just focus on this. Right now we have a guy firing that turret, so he is our goal to get to. So I jump over here to the right and I'm gonna start climbing up on this side, because some enemies are gonna come down here. You see, they have no idea that I'm here. And one of them manages to get down there. So I was thinking about, should I go after him? But he is completely focused on Elena and I don't think he can get back up. So instead I'm gonna turn my attention to these guys. Because one of them has a Desert Eagle, and for some reason I do not pick his Desert Eagle up. You know, I always tell you in my videos to pick up Desert Eagles or power weapons when you get the chance, but for some reason I decided not to in this one. It's my mistake, and learn from my mistakes, as I always say. I make these videos and I tell you about the mistakes I do, so you don't have to repeat them. My job is to get you through this level as safe as possible. And this guy decided to turn pacifist. He was just standing there taking it. I guess he was tired of being a mercenary, working for a horrible warlord as like Lazarevich. So it's quite interesting when that happens, when an enemy stands in a position and the AI doesn't know how to react to your movements. Because he's probably clipping on geography. You are in a position, so he has a hard time getting to you, and the AI just says fuck it and leaves. But now we're taking out all the foot soldiers. So now we can focus on the guy with the turret. And the turret guy, or the turret guys actually, are quite interesting, because if you're standing up here and you're shooting the guys manning the turret, it almost seems like there is an endless refill of enemies, because they will all go for the turret, as I show off some masterly head shooting skills. But they will always try to go for the turret. So if you have the patience and you have the bullets, you can just stand here and have Nathan Drake's shooting gallery in Nepal edition. We start mowing them down one by one. But I think that you can bypass that by pushing up. So that is what I decided to do. And once again, here I make a mistake. I am so focused on the guys over to the left, so I didn't see the fact that there is a guy over to my right. I don't know where he was. I think he was hiding behind a pillar and just waiting for that opportune moment. There were even two guys over there. Hooray for blindness! But I managed to get in behind cover and take them out. So now we can push up and we can man that turret. Because a lot of enemies are spawning in right here. And now you're in a great position. You have 350 bullets in this bad boy. So I suggest you start spraying. And the only thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing this fight is always keep the shield of the turret in the path of the enemies. Because if they manage to flank you, they will go in with full force. You will have genitalia smacked in your face and they will be sweaty. They've been to the gym and those uniforms are warm. And it's gonna be a very unpleasant afternoon. But as long as you manage to keep the turret shield pointed towards them, they will not have a chance at firing at you and be aggressive. As I said, you have 350 bullets. It's more than enough. Even if your aiming skills aren't completely on par, you will still emerge from that fight a winner. They will not have a chance. And now it's time for some platforming. And very soon we're coming up to the most frustrating part of this level. I'm not a big fan at all of this platforming, because sometimes it trolls you, like you saw right there. I've talked about it before. I think the platforming could have been better in this game, especially in this remastered edition. I think always when you do a remastered edition of a game, you should fix the flaws of the original game. That is one of the basics of a remaster. Don't just bump up the the textures and the graphics make the game better. And I haven't played the original Uncharted 2 in years. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since I played it. Can't remember when it was. I think it's 3 years ago. Maybe 2. Anyway. And I think it was quite frustrating, that game as well. And I think that is something they really could have worked on in this. Because they fixed a lot of other things. They made the game absolutely beautiful. It was beautiful to start with. But there are still some things they could have done a lot better. I also talked about the fact that when you're going for headshots in this game, in the second game in the series, the hit detection can be very hit or miss. No pun intended. But a lot of the times when you have your aim reticle straight for an enemy's head, he's maybe at a little distance. That can be what's trolling you. But even though it should be a clean headshot, for some reason it registers the bullet as hitting his chest or his shoulder or something like that. And that is something I think it worked really great in the first game. I can't remember any instances where that happened to me, that the game was so off with the headshots as in some instances I had while I was recording this game, and that I have encountered when I played this game overall. And I can't really remember what it was like in the third game. I think they fixed it in the third game, or maybe it was better to start with. Because that is also something developers do. They fix the issues from one installment in a game series to another. Hopefully, if they do it right, they will do that. And this little platforming segment is my nemesis. Until I realized this, that you can jump over to this beam directly from that roof. Because on previous runs of this game, I have taken the long way around. I've gone out to the edge of that roof and jumped to the start of this little house ruin. It was actually on my recording run I realized that maybe I can jump over directly over to that beam. I tried it, worked first try. The only reason you saw the transition there was that I, on my first attempt, tried to do it the way I used to do it. And that didn't work, as it usually never does. But now we're coming up to the fight that I am not friends with. Because in this little tower, or this quite big tower we're in, it's jam-packed with enemies. So what I suggest you do is try to stealth take out as many as you can. I will fail miserably at this, because I managed to stealth take out the first guy and this guy, but I get spotted by the guy standing on the opposite side of this floor. And now all hell breaks loose. On some attempts I did at this, it worked flawlessly. I managed to stealth take out at least 3 or 4 guys before shit started kicking off. And that's what I recommend you do. But I was stuck here for quite a while. I tried to get a really good run, but it's quite RNG based where he is standing, how the clipping will go. So I decided to, okay, it didn't go well, but I'm gonna commit to it, I'm gonna persevere, and I'm gonna prosper. And what makes this fight so hard is the fact that there are a lot of awkward angles in here. And enemies in this game, I've talked about it before, they are absolutely terrible at dodging grenades, and they are absolutely amazing at throwing them, and they have an endless supply of them. Because an enemy can be standing 3 floors beneath you and go completely worms on you. You ever play Worms? I don't know if you have, but when you played Worms, it's an old turn-based war game, really fun, really brutal, where you have, when you're playing against the AI, they always manage to get perfect bazooka shots and perfect grenade shots. They managed to cook the grenades just long enough for it to explode right next to your feet, was what I was gonna say, but that is not correct because a worm doesn't have feet. And also worms don't have hands, so they shouldn't be able to fire bazookas and shit like that, but you get what I mean. And that also can describe some of the enemies in this game, especially on the higher difficulties, because they always manage to get the grenades right next to your feet. The good thing is that you can fire down beneath the floorboards, as you saw me doing, because the enemies have a really hard time hitting you between the floorboards, but you have a good chance to hit them, so that is what will win the day and win the fight. And after this fight, we're gonna fight on that bridge down there. That is also quite hard. It's not as hard as this, I think, because this is, in my opinion, one of the hardest fights in this game. Because the cover isn't great, enemies are in awkward positions, it's hard to get a great view of the battlefield. But now we have the bridge fight. And this is a lot about crowd control and planning. First guy you need to take out is that guy. He has a rocket launcher, he needs to die immediately. He is a run ender. Is that correct? He will kill you faster than you can say pancakes. Also, this guy with the riot shield needs to go down quickly. And now it's a lot about crowd control. And as soon as they start lobbing grenades, I like to move up to this pillar. Because the thing with grenades and enemies throwing grenades is that they are great at placing them on your cover or just next to your cover. But with these two pillars, if they throw a grenade at the side you're sitting on, you can just quick roll over to the other one and you will be completely safe from the grenade. Because, as we all know, the grenades have a really small blast radius in this game, and wow, that's a lot of enemies. So use your grenades wisely in this one. But as I said, the grenades have a really small blast radius. They are very fair that way, because when you throw them, their blast radius doesn't increase, but enemies are shit at dodging them. He throws a grenade, I move over to the right side. And this is basically the guy that can cause you problems, or was the guy. There will be another heavy after that one. There are 3 heavies in this fight, I think. So what I recommend you do, try to save your grenades until they show up, or use the sniper rifle like you saw me do. It is a bit risky, you don't want to get them to get too close to you. But you can be quite aggressive, because this bridge is gonna be jam-packed with ammo after this fight is done. But we are not at the checkpoint yet. This is also one of those moments that has wonky checkpoints, because I don't think there is a checkpoint until you reach the top of this tower. I may be wrong, because I managed to take this entire sequence in one go. Because I was a bit nervous, because this is a long fight, there were a lot of enemies. And I've had times where I've died to the last guy. Just an awkward or an unfortunate grenade throw or something like that. I didn't move up, started clipping on cover or something like that. So I'm being really cautious here, because there is, I think there are 3 guys left, and one of them is a heavy. And they start spawning in when you try to push into this tower. So now they show up, and I am gonna fall back, because I was getting pretty nervous when I saw Mr. Heavy guy coming there. So I fall back out onto the bridge, and I'm gonna wait for him to come to me, because this bridge is great in that sense that you can bottleneck enemies here. And I picked up some new grenades, so I'm gonna put them to good use. For one of the heavy, it didn't work too well. And this is also one of those moments when I'm watching this video, I see things I think I could have done better. Because for instance, I will not be using my shotgun anymore after this. So what I could have done is just sprayed his ass with shotgun shells. And also when he's throwing grenades, I fall back, I could have pushed up. That is something you can try to do, but you do it at your own risk. As I said, this is quite a long fight and there are no checkpoints. So I know that's why I was being cautious. Because I think still that if you die right now, you will restart this fight at the beginning. At the beginning of the bridge with all the enemies intact. But now we just have this guy left. So I'm gonna wait for him to stick his head out. That should have been a headshot game, thank you. And now we can push into the tower. All the enemies, almost all the enemies are dead. Was what I was gonna say, I'm not gonna lie to you. There are a few guys left. There is one guy up there. So just wait for him to stick his head out so we can blow it off. Because why not? That's how you do it. And you'll know that the fight is over when the dramatic music stops. I think you may have reached a checkpoint now, actually. And you see a bunch of laser sights showing up. Because now in the 3 towers on the other side of this gorge, there are a bunch of snipers. The snipers are not a problem at all, as snipers rarely are in this game. But there is a guy packing an RPG, and he can be a real problem. Because if he hits your tower, I think it's 4 times, the tower will collapse and it's a kill state. So what you want to do is get over there or get up to the top of this tower. We're gonna pick up a sniper rifle, and this RPG guy has to be your first priority. The snipers can go fuck themselves. They are completely useless. They will spend weeks trying to get that perfect shot, but while they're trying to line up their aim, we will have killed them and 3 generations of their offspring. Because we are effective and they are not. But first on our agenda we take out these 2 guys. Be careful. Even though the snipers are completely useless, if you linger too long in their sight, they will maybe get lucky and find a trigger. But now we move up, hopefully. Come on, Nate. And we have 1 set of stairs to get up, or 1 more floor we have to go up. So here, just be quick. You know how it works. If you think they may be getting close to you, just roll and they will lose their aim and try to re-catch it again. And by the time they do it, you will be long gone. But now we have our position, and here we have a bunch of sniper rifles. So I pick up 1 and I jump down behind this crate. You saw a little transition there. I died, actually. There goes the RPG guy. But I didn't die on this fight. It's quite amazing. I suffered a very weird death. Because this was my 2nd attempt. This is really easy. As long as you take out the RPG guy, now it's just Nathan Drake's shooting range once again. Because their huge red lines will always show you where they are. So you can just... It's like shooting fish in a barrel, and now we are gonna bottleneck these guys on this little bridge that they will try to cross, and they will not succeed. As long as you are somewhat good at aiming, you by no means have to be an expert, but you do have to know your way around a sniper rifle somewhat. Because they only have that narrow plank to move across. See this guy? Boom! Down he went. So you can wait for them to go out on the plank and just put your gun in their general direction and they will be completely chanceless. Is that correct? Chanceless? They won't stand a chance? Another guy makes a run for it. 2 guys? No chance. Your progress ends here. But the weird death I suffered was at the end of this fight. Because I was completely sure that I had killed everyone.
That's the last of them.
You hear Nate saying that's the last of them. So now the coast is clear and we can progress. I started going down. I started walking out on the plank. All the enemies were dead. Or at least I think they were. I don't remember if he said that's the last of them. But what happened was, when I was halfway across this plank, suddenly it was a kill state. So I was a bit nervous. I was checking around an extra time. Because when I was halfway across, suddenly, boom, I died. I have no idea why. Because I'm quite sure that I killed everyone. But I guess maybe that's another weird little glitch. This game has a few of them, I guess, as most games have. I'm thinking about actually sending a copy of my bonus video to Naughty Dog. To see if that's something they have ever encountered during bug testing. Maybe that is something they'll patch. But here is a little Indiana Jones moment. We're gonna climb up this bridge as it collapses. Don't linger, actually. Because this is not a timed sequence. Or actually, it is a timed sequence. That was my mistake. If you take too long, the bridge will collapse and it will take you with it. So be quick, don't hang around to enjoy the scenery. Just try to make your way up as fast as possible. And now I think we are going into the last fight of this level. First we are gonna do some platforming, maybe. Not quite sure. It's a long chapter. I watched through it before I started recording this commentary. But it's, as you can see, it's a long mission. I'm not... I can't remember every little detail. But I think we're coming up to the last fight. As long as you've gotten past that tower fight and that bridge fight, you're safe. This fight is extremely easy. I did this on my first attempt. All you have to do here is run out to trigger the spawn. You saw me taking a few steps out, a laser sight caught me and I ran back in. And now we're gonna do the same thing we did on the bridge. And that is gonna win the day. Because this is a fight that is really well designed in my opinion. Well designed in my opinion was what I was gonna say. That's an interesting way to put emphasis in a sentence. Because you have this cover is absolutely amazing. They do not stand a chance to get at you in here. The only way they would get at you is if you go completely postal and start spraying and need to go out and fetch some bullets. But you can see that I am firing very short bursts at all times. I don't spray and pray. I line up my sight. I go for short bursts. I have quite a lot of ammo going into this fight. You should have as well if you have followed this walkthrough. Because you will not suffer any risk to run out of bullets, and you never need to leave this cover. There are a few waves of enemies, you can see them spawning in. The only guy that can be a bit problematic is a heavy that will show up. But if you have a grenade, use it on him. That's what they're there for. Yeah, I think... Oh, there he is. Mr. Heavy Guy. And as all heavies, he's quite slow. Quite slow on the uptake probably as well. So... And you see, I'm not even moving now because that ended up outside. Because when grenades come in here, either they will land right next to your cover or they will go past you. You saw that grenade? He threw it so far in, even though I was standing in here, I didn't move outside. I didn't even feel the blast. So stay in this door, It's a great cover. Down goes the heavy, and we can push up.
Here we go.
Or don't I? Yes, I push up. Because now we have just a few guys left. But those guys can be quite dangerous. One of them had a Desert Eagle. He doesn't pose a threat. He's already dead. And we have a guy with a grenade launcher. And that is something I need to tell you. And this is very important, so please listen. When you have killed all the enemies in this fight, this is the last fight of chapter 22. Before you leave this area, pick up the Desert Eagle and the grenade launcher. Make sure that those are the two weapons you bring with you. Do not fire them in this level or in this fight. And by the way, there is one more fight coming up. But anyway, make sure to bring the Desert Eagle and the grenade launcher. They will serve you extremely well at the beginning of chapter 23. They will make that beginning fight of that level a lot easier. So make sure to bring them with you. Do not use them here unless you have to. You will be using the Desert Eagle. But the grenade launcher, keep it, save it. Because we're gonna have great uses for it later. And now that I've taken out all those regular guys, guy with the grenade launcher and also the guy with the Desert Eagle, a bunch of snipers decide to join the party. And this is business as usual. I don't know why I wasn't more aggressive. I'm being a bit stingy with my bullets for some reason. Which is weird because I know, as I have played through this game earlier, that I will pick up the grenade launcher and the Desert Eagle before I get out of here. But for some reason I wanted to be really cheap with my bullets. Don't feel the urge to be that guy. Don't be like me. Feel free to spray a little. You've deserved it. You have gotten past the hardest fight in this entire game. Because that tower and that bridge, once again, those, in my opinion, are the absolutely hardest fights to get through. And that is because, the first one, because I think it's badly designed. It could have been done better. And the second one, because there are a lot of enemies. It is quite an open area, but if you use those two pillars at the beginning of the bridge, you shouldn't have too much problems. And the rest of the fights in this game, there are a few tough fights coming up, but I think those overall are the hardest ones. And this is extremely easy. This is just moving behind, or moving between actually, moving between good covers to take down all the snipers. I think there are, what is it, 5 or 6 of them? And there is, I think, 1 soldier left. Maybe 1, maybe, might even be 2. But this is really easy. He doesn't stand a chance. Elena trolls me a little bit by starting to shoot him. Get a quick headshot. He doesn't stand a chance. He falls down. He's dead. Pick up some more ammo. And I think that's all of the snipers actually. Now there's just 1 guy left. And I wasn't quite sure where he was. Pro tip, he's over to my right. So I ducked down behind cover. Got really close to death. That was my mistake. That was clumsy playing. I should have been aware of the fact that he was there because Elena was still firing. So that is me being stupid. Listen to Elena. If she's still firing, there is still a threat. But now I have picked up the grenade launcher. And now I'm gonna go up here and pick up the Desert Eagle. Once again, do not leave this area without those 2 weapons. And do not fire them in this fight. You will thank me when you're seeing... If you watch the chapter 23 video, you will understand why. And this is quite interesting. Now you're gonna see me behaving like an idiot for a few seconds. Because I was running around this area. I have trimmed out a little bit of this actually, because I was running around this area for 10 fucking minutes because I couldn't remember where to go. It's really embarrassing. You saw a little transition there because I realized where the exit was. So I trimmed out as much as I could because you don't want to see... This video is long enough already. You do not want to see me running around this little courtyard for 10 minutes looking for an exit that is in plain sight.
Okay.
It's the big red door over on the right side with those two turn handles, whatever they're called, on the sides of it. So when everyone is dead, pick up the grenade launcher and the Desert Eagle and go to the huge door on the right. Do not run around that area and like a headless chicken.
Alright, just like the fire escape.
And in classic Uncharted style,
Alright, when you get up there, kick it down.
of course this ladder is gonna break.
Oh no.
They always do. No, not always. But the solution to this is, as it always is, Elena pushing down a box. You know, they did a little pun about it in Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, that they would never use boxes again, and the only time after that instance when they say it, they actually use a box at one more time in that game, and that is when Sam, oops, spoiler alert, when Sam Drake is pushing down a box for them, because that's how the Drake brothers solve problems. They use boxes. They use boxes and they use firearms. And now we're coming up to the very last fight of this chapter. And maybe you saw a little shadow passing up on the roof. I think that was an enemy. Maybe it was a Yeti. Who knows? But I'm really proud of how this fight went, because this is one of those perfect moments, and this is one of the reasons I wanted you to bring the Desert Eagle. Because there is a riot shield guy in this room, and he can be such a fucking troll, because it's really hard to get out of this position by the door. But the Desert Eagle is a one-hit kill on all regular enemies, so I managed to squeeze my aim in beneath the riot shield, hit him in the foot, and he died. And that is the first instance why, or that is the first reason why you should bring the Desert Eagle from the previous fight. Because you saw how easy that was. If I had brought a normal pistol, I would probably have a lot more problems. And then we shoot the last guy. He was also carrying a Desert Eagle, so pick that up. And I didn't waste a single bullet in this fight. There is a checkpoint just outside that window, so if you get unlucky, feel free to restart checkpoint. Bring as many bullets as you can. 9 bullets is an ideal situation, because there were 5 enemies in the room. And I fired 5 shots, and it was 5 kills. So now I have 9 bullets going into chapter 23, and that is gonna serve us well. But we have come up to the end of Monastery, and if you tagged along for the entire ride, then I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.